Hi, what I thought I'd do was I'd just demonstrate what I do with mind maps. I think it's quite a common technique. I'm probably familiar with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at topic E, diffusion of molecules. I'm actually going to split it up into two. So the first part, I'm going to look at factors affecting rate of diffusion. And these come up, so these are the things which you might be then have to put into your hypothesis for the question 2. So there's a little bit there about diffusion. Have a look at kinetic theory, but I'm just going to put these on. So first of all, I would have a look at concentration gradient. And I would put in all of the information about the concentration gradient there. On the second one, I would put down shape and size of molecules. These are just the headings of shape and size of molecules. Temperature. Distance. And surface area, which is a bit of a funny one. And then I would just fill that in. Sometimes, if you do it better, you can fold up the page, fold it up into 6 or 8 bits, 4 bits, 4 quarters, fill in a bit on each quarter. These are all things which I've done in the past. Then obviously you can fill all of those bits in. And that's quite a lot of the stuff. If you're changing the temperature, when you're looking at the diffusion, you've got to keep all of those other things the same. If you're changing the concentration, again, they're the control variables. And it's important when you do these things, and I think, it sets it out quite nicely, that when you're changing one thing, the independent variable, you're changing it, you're going to measure something else, then you've got to keep all of these other factors the same. They're the control variables. So, if you're using the different molecules, you've got to keep them all at the same concentration. If you're going to change the surface area, you've got to keep everything else the same. So, very important. I think it's a good way of doing it. Sets it out. The book's not the easiest to read. The other things that you have to have a look at, I would call kinetic theory. Of course, you could use different coloured pen, because I love these coloured pens. It's kinetic theory. So you could put that down. You've got all of these ideas. So you've got arrangement of molecules. Okay, movement. So you've got the movement, and you've got this idea of dynamic equilibrium. And this is something maybe where you could actually do. divide the page up into 4, and you can have different ones, you know, about the random movement, dynamic arrangement of molecules in solids, liquids, and gas. And this is just the idea of transferring the information which you've got in your book. So it's all in here. Shape and size of molecules, temperature, distance. But I think actively transferring the information from, you know, from the page in your book, which you've got here, rather than just reading it. But all of this, it's quite straightforward. I don't think it's anything that you don't know, but I think sometimes it's just, if you write it down, then it just gives you a little bit more theory, a little bit more to write about when you're doing the when you're doing those hypotheses, or you've got to put a little bit of science into it. Okay, just to perhaps do something different, it's the same headings, but I've divided my page up into a quarter, and fits in quite nicely with that topic. And then I can just reduce it down into a quarter of a page on each of those little subtopics. So just another way of doing that if you're not that keen on the spider diagrams. I find doing it like that. And again, you know, with the, I should have shares in BIC, I think. Keep on advertising their pens. But, you know, you can highlight that. And I think it's easier to look at rather than trolling through the book. Okay? Right. You have to fill these in. I don't fill them in for you. So a couple of little ideas there which I've used for revision in the past. And I'll speak to you all later.